Oh, thank you so much for joining us for the review. We've got the newspapers. We will also be updating you on the U.S. elections. So, Ben, shall we begin?
Yes, we shall. I think today I shall start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. COVID-19 is real. Just a reminder there, so do don your mask. Government spends $40 million to complete 6 district hospitals. And some measures in there. I mean, you remember the promise that was made with regard to hospitals on a regional and district scale. So at least this would show some level of, not a start of the projects, but at least commitment to that cause. Security agencies ready for December 7, 62,794 personnel to be deployed. And today we're delving into some of those security-related matters on the show. Election 2020. Who wins the central region? Now, it's a key swing region. And apart from the Greater Accra region, it has also been pivotal in determining who becomes president of our land. So that story there as well on the front page of the Daily Graphic. When you go to the center spread, living income, a game changer for cocoa sector. Another interesting story there. And then harnessing the potential of Ghana's fisheries sector. Those are 2 very interesting stories. On the back page, Galamsey fight still on. That's according to Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Mr. Kweku Asuma Treme. And then court discharges 22 alleged secessionists. You remember I was talking about this circus where we hear of people, we supposedly engaged in some secessionist activity. We round them up. And the next thing you know, we say, it's okay, go back. Live your life, enjoy yourself. And then when something else breaks, then we come and, hey, it's becoming ugly again. I mean, it's been quite a sequence from Papa V all the way down. We've had quite a number of them. I really don't know what our approach is when it comes to these secessionists. Are we willing to hit the nail on the head, or are we just going to skirt around the issue? I'm not sure. I don't know what your thinking is.
I have said it before, not just on this matter, but other matters, that it doesn't excite me when I hear police have caused arrests, when they've arrested people and they've paraded them in front of the cameras. That doesn't excite me. See, it is the case that you have against them and how you deal with it and get conviction. Yeah. That's what excites me. So for as long as they would round a lot of them up and line them up and take them to the courts, we will continue to have them being either discharged or for want of prosecution, like they would say. Right. The process will just continue, and then we'll come back, fresh charges, we will come back. It will be a cycle. Like
what we saw recently in the case of Alhaji Sinari. So all the, hey, he's going to the police station and we're going to interrogate him. Next thing you know, they're dropping the charges. They're dropping the entire case. And you ask yourself, what exactly is going on? Because the furore, all the noise about what initially we had read and then how it panned out at the end, rather curious. Yeah,
but that's also something that we have to keep talking about so that it stops. Because here in Ghana, if a person is arrested in that style with all the allegations, it becomes the perception. People assume that you are actually either guilty or you did what they're accusing you of. And then you do it in that form of show, and then finally you say, oh, I don't have a case.
The show, because you make it so, oh, it is glaring, it is this. Then all of a sudden, oh, it wasn't that. Yeah. And it also has to do with a lack of investigators in the police service itself, because sometimes the people who pursue these cases, they don't lose them in court, or they don't have to withdraw the cases because their cases are bad. It's a lack of some quality in pursuing the matters. The police service is actually lagging behind as far as investigators are concerned, as far as that bit, prosecution. So we'll see how it goes. But that's it for the Daily Graphic.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page, obviously, banner headline, 62,794 security personnel to be deployed to ensure law order. Interception of 436 pistols at Tema Port. CID takes custody of weapons. And this was the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. The Director General of the CID, Commissioner of Police, Isaac Kenny-Yeboah, disclosing on the sidelines of yesterday's press briefing, which was on the readiness of the security agencies to maintain law and order. He said investigations in the case were ongoing. This has to do with the interception of the over 400 pistols at the Tema port. And that examination on the weapons have revealed they were gas pistols, non-lethal weapons used for self-defense and other purpose. So that's a bit of detail right there. He said 6 people were arrested in connection with the case, but investigations had been narrowed on one person whose name was not given, who was currently assisting police in investigation. So that's the bit about that issue. And then KNUST, best in Ghana, 12 in Africa, according to who? Well, it's according to the U.S. News and World Report rankings for 2021. I'm not familiar with that.
Some have called it Ghana's version of the something paper. I don't want to discriminate.
Well, they say it's a multi-platform organization that ranks and evaluates universities based on their research, performance, and rating by members of the global academic community.
Right. It tends to be very different from the other global, rather global, entities, portals that do this, which almost always rank the University of Ghana best. My alma mater, by the way. Yeah, I'm being a bit biased, but this particular, survey report, it has a lot of question marks. Let me just.
You went to Legon, eh?
Oh yeah, I'm a proud alumnus.
It's as if you are analyzing the thing that I'm reading, but I'm only sharing information. And you check it out.
I'm only sharing information.
I was sharing, and then you are kind of like defending it, like it's some competition between Legon.
Do you want us to dig into this? It's not going to look good if we do.
Still in the central spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, voters place premium on education. According to research, it's been considered as a topmost issue by voters ahead of next month's general elections. A research report on elections in Ghana has revealed. The report therefore asks the next government to continue with the implementation of free education policy, build more infrastructures to accommodate students, and abolish the double-track system. And then heads of 3 constitutional bodies will be in Parliament today to brief the House on their preparedness and planned programs for the December polls. They are the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, the National Media Commission, and the National Commission for Civic Education. Also, the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapam, is expected to brief the House on the country's security preparedness heading into the polls. On the back page, President inaugurates office complex for 23 MPs. Trade Minister opens Agona Swedro Business Resource Center. 2 stories on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. There you have it.
So that story you took earlier, they are basically, encouraging whichever government is going to be in power come 2021 when it comes to education. Twaso. This is not Sarkodie saying. Well, the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper says, judge us on what we have done. Bawumia, the vice president to the OT region. We have 6,178 flashpoints, says National Election Security Task Force. And then Mahama Brands Amidu. Now this one, coward and stupid. We'll delve into that one, and he dares him to investigate him if he has any basis. That's something that I would want to discuss right here with Mama V. Now, Gushegu Youth declare for Nana and Tampuli, Hassan Tampuli, and then Ecom Ghana inaugurates new clinic for New Fadama. When you turn to page 2, I just wanted to indicate these. Kufuor urges Fomena MP to rescind decision to go solo, and you saw a clip of His Excellency the President in the course of the news, expressing his displeasure with the Fomena MP. But it appears whatever actions may have been taken to get him to budge did not work, so he's going solo. Ghanaians are now discerning and will vote on records of parties. So that's that. Interesting, because when it comes to this matter, in the next newspaper I shall do, you would find out that the NDC also has its fair share of people who are going independent and causing trouble for the party, so to speak. Okay,
so that's just where I'm picking up from that, because in the Daily Dispatch newspaper, you find that it's a major headline. It says NDC dismisses 18 members for contesting as independents in 2020 elections. I'm sure you recall that when the NPP issue, similar one happened, you didn't hear NDC people commenting on it.
Because they knew that was coming.
They also have a similar one. So where they agree, because, it's basically the same rules, where the rules are the same in both parties, you hardly hear them say anything. So this is picked from myjournline.com. It says the opposition National Democratic Congress has dismissed 18 of its members for filing as independent parliamentary candidates in the December polls. They are from 11 regions across the country, and General Mosquito, General Secretary of the party, said the 18 persons forfeited their membership the moment they filed nomination with the Electoral Commission as independent candidates. He ordered those in question to hand over all property in their possession to their respective constituency secretaries, cautioning that the dismissed persons henceforth desist from using any paraphernalia of the party and its flag bearer's name in any campaign. Now, if you're following them, you endorse them, such independent candidates. The party is also saying that if you openly associated yourself with with the campaign activities, then you are equally in breach of their provisions. So you are also no longer a member of the party. Just in case you're independent, but you're not sure if you're part of the 18. It's been published in the Daily Dispatch. You can also find your name on myjournline.com. And then, of course, Kandapaj and Mensa to brief Parliament today. That story is also here. And then Donald Trump heads to Supreme Court, like Ghana's 2012 election petition. That's how the Daily Dispatch puts its details on the back page of the paper. It says America's political fates in the balance as key vote counts continue.
So it looks like this is going to be a long-drawn election in the United States. But let's come back to Ghana. The National Inquiry newspaper says it talks about the full text of the NDC's Ejumapa manifesto. It's basically all about the NDC. And then Mahama fires Martin Amidou and some of Mahama's legacies in the Volta region. But two stories that interest me. Ejapa deal, withdraw deal completely, don't return it to Parliament. Mahama to Akufo-Addo, that's on page 3. And then again, media owners, now greatest threat to media freedom in Ghana. That's coming from Afeil Moni, GJA president. We'll find out why exactly he's saying that.
Let's do the Daily Guide. Front page of the Daily Guide. Mahama calls Amidou quote and unquote stupid, quote and unquote coward. That's not me saying. It's the paper quoting exactly. And then 62,794 security personnel for election. John Oji kidnapped Tadi girls, says colleague. This is very important. Police detective has said one of the 2 Nigerians standing trial over the 4 missing girls in Takoradi in the Western region kidnapped at least 2 of the victims. Okay, so let me take this again. A police detective has said one of the 2 Nigerians standing trial over the 4 missing girls in Takoradi in the Western region kidnapped at least 2 of them. Detective Inspector Peter William Azuma of the CID of the Ghana Police Service in 2nd D told the 2nd D High Court yesterday that Samuel Udotek Wills, a key suspect in the Takoradi missing girls case, told him that it was John Oji, another suspect, who did the kidnapping. He said Mr. Wills had admitted to him that his co-accused kidnapped Ruth Kwesing and one of the Priscilla's involved, but could not state whether it was Priscilla Crunchy or Priscilla Blessing between both victims. So if you want an update in terms of how this case is proceeding and what exactly happened in court yesterday, you can continue to read in the center spread of the paper. That's the News One Entertainment. John Dumelo preaches violence ahead of 2020 elections, and this is coming from a video that's been trending, but we know that he's also issued a statement apologizing for some of the comments that he made in that video. And then, well, there are other stories that, if it's of interest, you can continue to read. There are some sports stories on the back page as well.
I shall wrap up with business-related news from the Business and Financial Times newspaper. It says access to electricity sees significant slowdown. That's according to an analysis or analytical piece by the IES. And it says it grew by more than almost 3% for more than a decade. but growth has slowed down below 1% for the past 3 years. And to achieve 100% access by 2025, 3% growth rate is required. Then digitization, fintech collaboration, key for resilient banking sector. That's according to Dr. Richmond Etiahene. And major boost for aviation industry as Parliament passes Air Navigation Services Agency Bill. Those are the stories in the B and FT. I'm done, Mama.
Okay, so let's start delving in. Exactly. I remember you saying, I think there are about 2 stories that you wanted to build on.
The National Enquirer newspaper, page 3. Let me start with this one, since we're all involved when it comes to media. So media owners now greatest threat to media freedom in Ghana, GJA president. And the greatest threat to media freedom in Ghana are owners of media houses. Mr. Roland Afil-Moni, president of the Ghana Journalists Association, has said, and he mentioned this on a show right here from another station in Accra, and he says, with regard to the partisan posture of the media, what we are witnessing is an unprecedented invasion of the media space by politicians, and this has changed the ownership structure altogether. He observed, adding, the ownership structure is something we need to take a long and hard look at. I'm doing this story because it appears nowadays, even especially with politicians themselves, they have jumped into the fray. Now, the very people who are in leadership also are the people who are owning a lot of these media houses. So Trump would say fake news. In other words, how do you delineate between what is the news and what is propaganda, what is being spewed out there because of certain interests? And that is very problematic. I mean, you look at the Greater Accra region alone, the number of radio stations, the number of TV stations that have sprung up, the newspapers and all of that. You do a national survey and you realize that if we don't find some mechanisms to contain this, it might devolve into something we might not. Because then it is news, but it is news per where someone sits, where someone is coming from, their political orientation and all of that. So for me, I mean, those are my thoughts on that story. I don't know what you make of it.
Ownership. Well, is he prescribing
any solutions?
Exactly, because we've been talking about like it's an obvious issue.
Yeah.
So how does he think that we can resolve this?
Well,
from where I sit, I'm not sure I see any way out. Really,
that is the problem. But maybe I don't know whether it is to make it more difficult for people to, acquire licenses to run radio stations, television stations, or whatever it is. Or maybe even if you realize that someone came with some political coloration, would there be some bars or something of the sort? But in the end, what I see is you would have people circumventing other people, fronting for other people, and doing it anyway.
So, Ben, I think it goes back to the larger issue of the executive appointing everybody, because you're talking about the regulator who also issues the license, correct? And you're talking about stricter rules so that colored people do not necessarily lay hands on the license. I mean, it's a very complicated matter. I'm not sure we'll be able to resolve it because it goes back to the executive and appointment to some of these regulatory bodies. It comes back to the same thing that we're suffering from Parliament to a lot of our institutions. I'm not sure we can resolve this one. It's way too bigger than the GJA.
But on the second story, though, just to wrap up, I'm just going to pose the question to you. Do you think this entire thing going back to Parliament is going to make any difference? Ejapa. The former president is saying it's a futile attempt.
I don't want to get into the politics. I'm just disappointed that we're not able to deal with matters, state matters that go beyond the political, either the political ideologies or beliefs or even the tenure, because this is the states. This is Ghana.
Right.
And I feel like Parliament should do things in the interest of the states.
Right.
But that's not what we see, unfortunately. So I am totally disappointed. And I'm worried.
Where your disappointment lies, where exactly?
Okay, so
is it with the process? Is it with the fact that it's going to go back and likely not?
I'm just even thinking beyond Ejapa. How many of such deals have already gone through that we've committed to that will come back later on to hunt us.
Right.
I mean, there was the issue of the energy deal, the one that saw Boakye Jacko also being fired.
Are you talking
Remember?
about Mary?
Exactly. You know, and so we've had, and once the committee, because we're not in parliament, they are representatives, and a lot of the work is done at the committee level. If they miss it or if they don't do a good job, it goes against all of us. It goes against the states. So my disappointment really is that they did a very poor job.
Parliamentarians would also tell you that the time, oftentimes one of their problems, the time to go through the mass of documents, and sometimes how hurriedly these processes are taken
And
through.
they're their own masters.
Well,
if you don't
that is another
just
problem, because they'll tell you that it was brought in by government and, you know,
so
let's do it.
You see the thing with the executive I was talking about, because you have a lot of them who are also part of the executive in parliament.
Right.
So they know that this is crucial to the executive.
Right.
But if they were solely just legislators,
right,
they would not be concerned necessarily with what in terms of the pressure that's coming from the executive. It goes back to the whole thing.
I just feel, though, that you remember the NDC also was going to have a Ghana Consolidated something years back. I'm wondering if the positions were changed, how they would have reacted in that instance. That's an interesting thought there. Let's check out some other stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just have a minute to go, so maybe not in the local newspapers, but shall we just do the BBC, get a little updates on the US elections before we go? Otherwise, it's a wrap. Okay, we do. All right, so Biden takes Michigan and says, Claire, we will win. And that's from the speech that he's delivered, but we know that Mr. Trump is also seeking some legal redress there. So that's all we can share with you for now, Ben, unless there's something that you want to say quickly on that before we make way for sport. We will come back proper and tell you. It's a long battle, really. So we can't tell you who has won. We can only tell you what is being reported in terms of...
We can only tell you what the Electoral College votes are saying.
Exactly, because we know from their type of election that this is what matters. The Electoral College, you need to get 270 to win. Right. And right now, Biden has 243. Mr. Trump has 214. He's contesting some of the results, by the way. So that's what we have. That's what we can share with you.
Unlike 2016, this time one candidate is winning both the Democratic candidate is winning both the popular vote and the Electoral College votes. You know, in 2016, Hillary won the popular vote, but the other side, where it really counted, is where she lost out.
To what conclude you all?
Oh, may conclude it.
Okay.
But I mean, as per the figures for now, I am not their court system.
All right, we'll bring you sports. Sorry, Kwampofo is standing by. We'll tell you the embarrassing defeat of Manchester United yesterday. Pressure is building. Stay with us.